Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Murri.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from three separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide, practicing social distancing and being responsible.
You can find
So, Murray,
all of our
uh,
episodes, the latest, the newest, the greatest, on Demcast USA. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Heartland Mamas.
mamas.com.
So
So,
today
Murray,
we
you want
are
to end?
coming from three different areas in the state of Illinois. We're coming from the west, the southwest, and the north. Our guest today is Mr. John Gedney. He is the UAW legislative and political representative in Illinois, and he's going to be talking to us about the impact of this virus.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to see your faces. I do miss you.
Oh, we miss you too.
We miss people.
John, you have a
I didn't
dog.
think I would. I didn't think I would this much, but I do.
Okay, so you have a dog, this beautiful basset hound, right?
Yes. She's looking out the window right now, and hopefully she will not disturb us, but I can't guarantee that she won't.
But I gotta
Squirrel.
tell you, I feel like a dog. I understand them better now because when I see someone walk past my window, I'm like, who's there? Who's there? Who's in front of my house? Because it's like a person.
Oh, Murray,
Yeah.
come on. You're like that anyway.
Yeah.
True.
So, I, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a real reset for all of us. We all have to figure out how to do things differently and hopefully better than we did before. I don't know if better is, but it's some a goal to try to reach out for. So, John, what we wanted to know is how is this impacting your membership? How is this impacting your legislative relationship with the state and with the with the needs of the membership?
Well, I first will speak specifically on state issues. In Illinois, we're very grateful for the leadership of our governor. We represent 45 different local unions in Illinois and hundreds across the country. In each state, there's different issues that come up. If you talk to some of our members in Iowa, in the right to work state, where their governor said if they refuse to go back to work, then they would be giving up their unemployment. Again, fortunately, we have the leadership that we do here in this state. We had some issues come up at the Chrysler facility in Belvidere, Illinois. Based on the executive order, they seem to deem themselves as essential, considering bringing back their employees in the beginning of April, our members in the beginning of April to produce fleet vehicles. We had conversations with the governor's office, and they put out a cease and desist and let the plant management know that they were under the executive order that they were not considered essential to produce those vehicles. And fortunately, those workers are remaining safe at home right now, but they're still anxious to get back to work as well. And across the country, we have members volunteering their time to go in and help clean up these facilities so they can get back to producing vehicles. As an organization, we've had dozens of loss. We've to date have lost 24 UAW members across the country to COVID,
Oh, that's
and
bad
and
news. I'm so sorry
yeah,
to
and that
hear
number
that.
changes daily. But
Wow.
again, we got to look at the heroes that are out there every day working, doing what they can do to help our first responders across the country. We have facilities that are making ventilators, masks. So we're doing what we can as labor organizations and as citizens in the community, stepping up to do what's right.
That's good. That's wonderful to hear. Um, do you see, with the stay-at-home orders being different from state to state in Iowa, in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, do you see how this is affecting your membership um, in a way that is a bit uneven? I know that
Inequitable.
you
Some states are
right.
able to work, some states aren't. How is that
Right.
impacting it?
It's difficult. We have our executive board in Michigan that deals specifically with the auto industry, who has sent a message that, until they deem it safe for the workers, because the number one concern is the safety of our employees. And
Right.
understanding a lot of employees are going to be, or a lot of members are going to be put into situations where they have to make life-changing decisions And we're going to be there to protect them and stand with them all the way through this process, and help guide them in the right way, and make sure that they go home to their families, make sure that they can provide for their families, because this is no joke.
No, it
No,
isn't.
it's not. Now, John, you just mentioned something, and I'm wondering if you might take your experience in labor and translate that to why it's so important to what's going on right now in those plants. I think you mentioned to Heidi that it's challenging because you have different states and different rules, but as an organization, you said until it's safe, we're protecting our members.
Right.
Well, the meat packing industry has been horrible since the 1900s, and it hasn't gotten any better. And we're seeing massive outbreaks in multiple sites. So I know because I'm a labor girl. Heidi knows because she's a labor girl. But what are they missing? How can they fix this? Where is an opportunity here?
The opportunity lies with the employee themselves, the person themselves. Now more than ever, you have to stand up for what's right.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, people, um, have to provide for their families and sometimes get scared to stand up for what's right. But you see across the country, and you'll see more of it, where workers are standing together and uniting together and saying, we're not going to take this until our safety concerns are met, until you sit down and listen to us, because that's what it's all about. And it protects everybody. Otherwise, this is just going to be cyclical. You're not fixing anything if you're forcing people back to work and you're doing the bare minimum to get them there. Um, we need to continue to support those workers, and our communities need to continue to support those workers as well, and stop talking them down, and saying that they're spoiled, rotten people, and they should go back to work and produce our food. We want the we want the best of that, especially we want it to be regulated. We wanted to make sure that things are coming out fresh and healthy for us. Um, I can't see any reasoning to force those workers back to work as soon as they want them to.
Now, one of the clauses of the Defense Production Act is that it takes away the liability of the employer for the employee to go back onto the employer for having no protective equipment, forcing them to go back to work, unsafe
Yeah.
conditions. Is
If
does
they
it
become
just,
ill.
yeah, to me, that is such an abuse. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can't understand how, well, I can. It's mercenary capitalism. Heidi and I have always talked about this. It's mercenary capitalism. But like these members, these employees could have the benefit of, say, like a union, like the nurses union in New York, who has come out and said, we don't, surgical masks are not protective covering. We have people working, patient nurses coming in and dealing with COVID patients with a surgical mask. And because of their power in numbers, which I know John talks about a lot, it has been able to make that mandatory, that anyone working in a hospital that comes into contact with any COVID patient now has to have an N95 mask.
Yeah, and standing together itself, even without without an organization representing you, when people stand together, that's when things get done. When you stand alone,
Exactly.
you're easily broken. When you stand together, you cannot be broken. So when the employees realize that, and the power that they have collectively, you're going to start to see things change. I'm sure. Unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more heartache between now and then. And elections have direct consequences. You look at the
Yeah.
federal judges that have been appointed by this administration, and the things that are going to go up through the federal courts, and how
Yes.
those decisions are going to come down. Those are generations to change, and that's why it's so important that we get our membership and communities involved politically. We don't tell people who to vote for. We tell our membership, we do the vetting process, and we tell our membership who the best candidate is for our organization, what we represent. And hopefully, they take that information and they, make an informed decision. That's not always the case, and we need to do a better job of listening to the needs and wants of the members that voted for this fucking idiot. And you said I can swear on the show, so
You
I'm going.
can. We are on a grown-up channel on YouTube. You're good.
Yeah, yeah,
We call him that regularly, so do not
yeah.
feel bad.
It just boggles my mind, in some of the thinking. And the reality of that, though, ladies, honestly, is we're not going to change the mentality of the people that vote for this guy. They're going to continue to vote for him. What we can do is inform our membership of the process and get them involved in races that they can really make a difference in their local politics and their state politics. Sooner or later, that's going to change the overall. But these are generational changes. This isn't something that's going to happen in 10 years, 20 years. This is a generation. They took them 45 years to get to where they're at, and it's going to take us some time to turn it around. But I'll have to rip it from my cold, dead hands. I will die doing that for sure.
We've talked about how once we win this election in November, and we just absolutely have to, that we can't sit down. We have to work harder to push forward into the decades ahead and to make a pathway and a plan going past this 8 years that's coming up, this 4 years that's coming up. We have to make a long-term plan, and we have to round out our county boards and school boards and library boards and state government and everything from our mayor
Dog catcher.
to the dog catcher, right? We have to make the changes that we need to see, because out in the rural areas, the state becomes more red. And I've seen from personal experience what our very Republican county boards and school boards do to our communities. And that's why we started the podcast, is to move the message forward. So it's not just the singular Republican message that they get spoon-fed all the time.
Yeah. And that takes time too.
Yes, it does take time. You have to convince people that they can vote outside of their norms.
It also takes awareness, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That there are others like-minded like you, particularly when you're in an overly red area, or people feel like they can't be a Democrat. They feel like they can't support those values. And by knowing there are other people out there, it's a snowball effect. More people come out and say, "Hey, I'm proud to be a Democrat."
That's why I fly a Democrat flag in front of my house.
Yep.
So everybody.
Now, I don't always agree with the party itself, but if we're ever going to make changes, that's our only avenue. We're not going to burn it down and start all over.
Exactly.
It is our only avenue, and we have to continue to be engaged in the party to make positive change.
We do. Now, the thing that I remember most from history is after the economic collapse of the Great Depression and after the Spanish flu, unions had a big uptick in membership, and more unions and locals were born. And I'm hopeful myself, as a long-term lifetime union, from a lifetime of union people in my family, that we'll have a rebirth of labor unions, both public and private sector unions throughout the country. And I know that Barack Obama did not sign some bills that could have
Employee Free Choice Act, I'll say it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
that is one of my biggest gripes with Barack Obama, because that would have made all the difference in the world. And we need to get that out there. We need to get it. We need to get that in place. We need to bring that back to the forefront. I think it's going to be a real opportunity for us going forward, when I look past the pandemic, to really build our labor unions. That's how I see it. I think we're more aware right now that the workers, those of us on the front lines, my daughter's in a union, they're the ones that are taking the brunt of this right now. And I feel terrible for the people, the meat packers they used to be a good union job, and they've run the unions out of meat packing, and look at what they have to deal with right now. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and then to have the laws that protect those workers that are willing to stand up to have a voice in the workplace, because it's that simple. It's about having a voice in the workplace. And the laws aren't there to protect them. They have to be willing to take everything that comes with it. And as a UAW member, 26 years, I walked into a Chrysler facility. I didn't have to organize. I didn't have to negotiate a first contract. through my years, I've seen that. I've seen what workers go through in first contracts and organizing. Um, it's not easy, and I have a greater appreciation for that happening than I ever did. And people have to be willing to stand up for what's right and take the hit and sacrifices to do that. And if we don't, we're heading to a third world country. That's what we'll be.
It's
A banana
it's been
republic, which we're almost
Yep.
there already.
Yep.
we've watched as the labor unions their teeth have been removed, and we saw this a lot with Reagan and going forward. But we need to remember that when we don't value our labor unions, when we don't value the strength of collective bargaining, we end up with sick workers, injured workers, underpaid workers, all kinds of abuses from management and ownership down to the person that sweeps the floor. And we need to remember that those people are the people that the cogs in the wheel that keep the wheels going.
Yep.
And those have to be, in my opinion, and I think you too as well, have to be strengthened and brought forward. And we need to codify it so we can't ever have right to work again.
The thing that would simplify all this fight is if every citizen took the opportunity to vote. Right?
Yes.
We wouldn't be in this situation for sure.
Jeff, how many of your members do you know off? I'm springing this on you. Do you know what percentage of your members vote? Do you know how that compares to other labor organizations, or is
I say upwards of 70% of our membership participates in the election
so
process.
vote by mail? Tell me what you think about vote by mail.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think people should secure their ballots any way that they can. In Illinois, August 5th, you can request that ballot. I encourage everybody, pandemic proof, right? If anything should happen, you're going to get that in the mail. Yeah, I think vote by mail is the way to go.
And in Illinois, I just want to say, Heidi and I touched on this countless times, and I think Heidi and John both touched on this about our local elections and how they're so very important, and your county members. So your county board is important, but your county clerk is extremely important. In the state of Illinois, you have a right to request a vote by mail ballot with no reason required for any reason. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. We have that out here in a couple of counties where they do as much as they can to suppress the vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Illinois does have, I'd say, the most liberal voting record or voting opportunities. I mean, the way you can register to vote. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. There's no excuse. And you look at some of the turnout in historic elections, like the Chicago mayoral election. I think less than 3% came out to vote. That's insane. Less than 33% participate in the state. That's crazy. Again, if the middle class and working class came out to participate, that's all we have. None of us are prepared to write checks for millions of dollars to our candidates, but we can make a difference at the ballot box, and that's what we need to do.
We absolutely can. The more we vote, the more power we take, and maintain. And we,
remember,
as the
we're
people,
stronger together.
I love how Hillary Clinton's tagline is everywhere. It's like in the shop windows in my little town. I keep thinking,
and they don't have any idea that it's hers, or they would have taken it down.
Right. Yep, for sure.
Not all of them, but some
quite
of them.
a few.
Anyway. So John, is there anything else you'd like to share with us about the UAW and the movement going forward?
Well, I'm always grateful to be part of this organization, and I always say that unlike any other labor organization, we've been fighting for social and economic justice our entire existence, over 80 plus years, and we'll continue to do that under the leadership of Director Ron McEnroy here in Illinois and our President Rory Gamble in Michigan. I think we're heading in the right direction. What's that?
I'm curious.
Hold on. Hey, John.
I think we've been hacked.
Yeah.
At least it's
John?
not porn.
Hey, did you see? Okay, before we go, I just
It's
gotta say,
good.
did you see that Good Morning America anchor who um did a segment on from home on pharmacies delivering prescriptions by drone? And he did it
No.
in his suit, his dress shirt, his tie, and no pants. They
No, I didn't
caught
see.
him live and started tweeting about it. Dude's got no pants on. He played it off
Oh,
really well, so I think it should always be pants optional.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. None of us know what we're wearing, right?
And I
Just
will
see
say,
here up.
right.
Yeah.
And, oh, then he was great. He said, make sure you frame your shot right and things. But I can tell you, my laundry loads have gone down dramatically because everybody pretty much just wears the same thing. Although I do dress up for my Wonder Woman T-shirt. But
Right.
my youngest, he has a Zoom call every day with class, and that just started. He hadn't put clothes on in a month. Like he's always
Wow.
underwear guy.
Oh,
Oh my
someone's
gosh,
making.
show puppy, show puppy. What's
She's
puppy's
making an
name?
appearance. Zoe.
Zoe. Oh, bring her
Oh,
over. Oh my
oh my gosh, is she?
so now she's
Aw.
reluctant.
Oh, she's adorable.
god.
Oh, and she
Bring
loves
it in.
you.
Yeah, she
Democrats and dogs.
absolutely. She's the best work partner ever. Never bothers me. Only once every 6 hours, maybe.
Mhm. Well,
I live on a farm, and my dogs are with me all day, all the time. In fact, they're sitting right outside the studio door. I can hear them whining.
Yeah.
when
Well, she
I
would be doing the same thing.
when I do campaigns, I bring my two girls with me to the office. So I always have mine with me too. We love our puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So grateful.
Well,
Well,
thank
thank
you,
you so
John,
much,
for coming on.
John, for
We'd love
being.
to have you on again. Heidi and I are
I'd
gonna.
love to come back.
Awesome.
I love her. I keep seeing her little snout come into the shot.
It's so
It's so
cute.
cute. Aw, she's
Thank you so
adorable.
much for having me and giving us the opportunity. And I appreciate everything that you guys do. Please stay safe and stay in touch.
We
And
We will,
will.
and
we'll all
thank
get
you
together.
for what you do for your membership. Thank you for
Yeah.
fighting for workers. That's one of the most important things, especially now. We can't underestimate how crucial that is.
It is
Right.
an honor and privilege to serve this membership for sure. I am very
That's
grateful for that
that's
opportunity.
wonderful. Well, listen,
Thank you.
everybody, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
tuning in, and
Bye.
we'll take care, and we'll see you soon. Heartland Mamas, mamas.com. Tune in, like, share, subscribe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.